Hello everyone, I'll show you how to make a button that has different images based on the mouse position. When you hover over the button, it will have a different image, and when you press on the button, it will change the image as well. Also, I'll show you how to make this button look good on both the desktop and the mobiles. So stay with me until the end. The first thing you need is three different icons. Basically, one that will be the default icon, one that will be shown when you hover over the icon, and one that will be shown when you press on the icon, or button in our case. After you got three different images that they need to be the same size, keep that in mind, it's very important. Mine's are 128 by 128. They have to be square images. It means that the dimensions on the X and Y should be equal. And as you can see in my case here, this icon has is a square image. This is a square image as well, and they are all the same. They all share the same dimensions. After you got three images, you want to go in Roblox Studio and search for this folder called Starter GUI. Click on the plus icon that's near the folder and click on the Screen GUI. You can name this Screen GUI. I pressed F2 to rename it, and then I say Inventory GUI. Good. After you rename your Screen GUI, click on the plus button again and create a frame. As you can see, a frame was created on the top left corner. I'll rename this frame the icon frame. Good. I'm going to properties and I will set the size and the position of this frame. I want the size on the X axis to be 1. So it will occupy all the space on the X axis. If you say 0.5, it will occupy only half of the horizontal space. And those values are scaled values. So basically they will scale based on the screen size. If I'm making this a little bit shorter, you'll see that this frame will become shorter because the screen is becoming smaller. Okay, so those are scale sizes. And then you have the fixed size. Those are in pixels. And if you say something like 100 and 0 here, you'll see that the size will stay fixed. It will not change based on the screen size. And this is something that you don't want when you are dealing with mobile. So when you have a big screen, you want the icon to be bigger. And when the screen is getting smaller, you want the icon to become smaller as well. So players can click on icons when they play on the mobile phones. Good. So let's go back here and set this fixed size to 0 and the scale size to 1. So on the fixed size, you want to have 0, and on the scaled size, you want to have something like 0.1. I think this will be good for the height of the icons. And for the position, you want your frame to start from the very left. So this will mean that for the x-axis, we'll keep those values 0. But if you want to put something like 100, it will start 100 pixels distance from the beginning of the screen. But if you say something like 0.5, it will start from the middle of the screen, because 0.5 means the scaled position, which will be scaled based on the screen size. So as you can see, changes while the screen size is changing. If you go back and put here 100 and you leave this 0, you'll see that when you resize the screen, the position is the same, 100 pixels from the left part of the screen. Now put this back to 0, hit enter, and you want to change the position on the y-axis. So if you put 1, it will start from the bottom, but you can't see it because it will be somewhere here. You want to bring it a little higher, so it will be 0.9. It is also working on device. The next step will be to go to your frame, the properties, and go to the background. property and make this transparent by setting the background transparency property to 1. And now, as you can see, this frame is transparent. After that, let's make an image button inside this frame, but I will also want this image button to have a UI layout, let's say a UI list layout, so that this button will be placed right in the middle of this frame. In order to do this, you want to put a UI list layout as I showed you, and after that you put an image button inside it. And as you can see, this image button is not well positioned, not very well sized. So let's go to the properties, let's go to the size property, and as you can see, the size property is using fixed pixel size, so we don't want that. We want to make sure that this will be scaled based on the parent, which is this frame. In order to do this, the first thing I want to do is to go to the UI list layout properties and center this button by changing the horizontal alignment to center and also the field direction to horizontal. If you left this field direction property to vertical, it will place all the items vertically. But if you put it horizontally, it will place them horizontally. Now, after you change those properties in UI list layout, go to your image button and go to the size property and change this fixed Y value to a scaled Y value and make this one so it will occupy the whole space of the parent on the Y coordinate. Because the parent is our frame, we already configured our frame to scale based on the screen. So now this image button will scale based on this frame. But we have a problem here on the X, because if you say here, for example, 1, this will look ugly. So what we'll do, we'll set this to 0 and hit enter, and basically it will have 0 size on the X axis. But you have a property which is called UI aspect ratio constraint, and if you go inside the properties of this element, you'll find something like aspect ratio, and this is by default 1, which is perfect. So basically it will try to make this image have an constant aspect ratio, which means it will make the width and the height be the same size if it's set to 1, and if you set this to 2, it will have a width 2 times the height, or the height twice the width. I'm not sure, but most of the cases you want this to be 1, and you want to set the dominant axis, in our case is the height, and after that you want to scale with parent size. So our image will have the width equal to the height because you use this UI aspect ratio constraint. After that, you want to go back to your image button and go to the properties, and you have a scale property. It's stretch. I recommend to make it fit, so it will also preserve the aspect ratio of the image if you put the scale type to fit. And after that, go to the image properties and set the image for your button. I'll add an image so you'll see how you do this. We have this first image, which is our inventory icon. Click open, click create, and now you have this image. Now go back to the properties and choose the hover image. By adding image, choose file, and go to your hover image. Open, create, then choose the pressed image, add image, choose file, inventory icon pressed, create. Go to the properties of this image button, go to background transparency and set it to 1. Now, as you can see, our button works. It has an image, it has a different image when you put your mouse over it, and when you click on it, it makes this. I think it's very cool. Yeah, and this is our button that will work on all the devices. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more tutorials and more interesting stuff about Roblox.